Most people don't fall apart loudly. We do see it, but I don't think it's the most common occurrence of drifting. I think a lot of people fall apart quietly, right? It happens through distraction, through busyness, and through those small compromises in direction. And the interesting thing is that we lose our orientation in an existential sense. We tend to withdraw from the world. We feel shame or embarrassment, like we've somehow failed. And ironically, when we need help the most, that's often when we're most resistant to seeking that help. Instead, we put on a show to convince everybody that life is going on and everything is fine and we're just doing okay, right? But underneath all of that is this desperate survival mode. It's that subtle cost of drifting quietly, and it's a real danger. Okay, so once we start drifting quietly, what's the actual cost here, right? What does it actually cost us? It's not always about this dramatic breakdown, a way to signal to the world that it's not going well, right? It's about the quieter losses. We lose a sense of presence. Our motivation fades, our sense of coherence and meaning gets a little blurry, and we lose connection. And that loss of connection creates a negative feedback loop that forces us into further isolation, right? We start to lose our sense of self, our confidence and momentum, and ultimately hope. We lose hope. Because hope is often the first thing that eludes us, that steers away from us when we are lost. We no longer see the light because we are wrapped in this shroud. I think in modern life, it's very easy to lose orientation because we're rewarded for the illusion of staying busy, not for staying aligned or on a path that suits us. We're praised for productivity, not our direction. It doesn't always matter what we're doing as long as we're doing something. And to be fair, there is kind of a meaning to the completion of tasks, to getting things done. You know, when you're stacking shelves in a store and you complete stacking the shelves, you have completed a task. There's a dopamine release and there is a sense of progression, a sense of completion or productivity, right? And the completion kind of feels good. Activity feels like progress, but activity isn't the same as direction or momentum. I think the deeper problem is this. Society doesn't help us find the right path. That responsibility now is purely up to the individual, right? It's entirely the individual's responsibility to find the path that's best suited to them. And I don't think that was always the case. Maybe because there were more rigid belief systems and structures in place. There were less roles to choose from. There was less choice, right? And I think that's the point where anxiety comes in, right? So Rollo May, he is an existential psychologist, and he described existential anxiety as a normal response to freedom. You know, everyone's so obsessed with this idea of freedom and freedom of expression and freedom of speech, and it's my body, my choice, it's my right, I can do whatever I want. The me, right? Um, when you are free to choose from anything, any career, any lifestyle, any identity, the possibilities don't feel empowering. At least I don't think it's empowering. It's actually overwhelming, right? If it's infinite choice and there's no limitations placed upon my decision making, there's no guardrails, then I'm dizzy with this sense of choice. It's a real problem. It's like choosing bread at the supermarket. If there's only 5 choices to make, chances are it's going to take less than 10 seconds to make the decision. But if there's 1,000 choices of different bread to choose from, how long are you going to stand there in the aisle trying to pick what's going to be the best toast in the morning? So it's like when choice multiplies without a guiding framework, our sense of orientation collapses, right? Our compass is cracked. And if you don't have a set of values or a belief system or a higher purpose quietly organizing these decisions or helping inform our decisions, then it becomes so easy to drift. Not because you're weak, but because nothing is reinforcing your direction. So illusion replaces embodiment, performance replaces purpose, busyness replaces meaning. You're looking active, but internally, you're fragmented. You're unanchored. I think that losing direction happens more often when we don't have something big enough to anchor us, something beyond ourselves or above ourselves. Because when our purpose only serves us, it's fragile, it's fleeting. But when it serves something bigger, when our purpose serves something bigger, a community, a value, a calling, a responsibility, even a belief, that purpose outlives us and it gives it weight. It operates even when we're feeling like not engaging with it. It's always there. Orientation at its core is having something to return to. And I think that's what we usually mean when we're talking about finding our why or the why. But sometimes the why is bigger than my why. Sometimes it's a shared why. And when it's shared, that means we don't carry it alone. And we can connect with others while sharing that purpose, that direction. That changes everything. Because anxiety isn't just fear, it's disorientation. It's feeling overwhelmed by the decision at hand, not knowing where you're headed, or not having support on the path. Orientation doesn't come back through certainty. It comes back through practice, through breath, through reflection, through prayer, through movement, through honesty, through meditation. Anything that reminds you of what you're anchored to. Because when you're anchored to a why, your grip can slip, but you can find the rope again. You know what it connects to. And if you've ever felt completely lost, all you really need is a light in the distance, a thread to follow back, the smallest indicator that points to your why. So people only disappear when they believe there is nothing to return to. I think that's a tragic reality, and it makes a lot of sense. So if I was speaking to somebody who felt lost, I'd ask them a few questions. I would ask them, when was the last time you felt really connected to something or aligned to something? I would ask them, what is worth staying for? If you had to think really hard, what would you say is worth staying here for? I would ask them, what ties you to this life? And these questions aren't necessarily a Hail Mary to save somebody, but it may temporarily help them reorient themselves to a direction that they're able to follow. Because that's the thread, right? And if you only orient yourself around yourself, the world will disappoint you. Life is bigger than you. And when you remember that, not as a burden, but as an invitation, direction begins to return. Quietly, gently, honestly. So, stay in your way. Stick to your project. Commit to something. Find a reason to stay in.